Greetings to all my comic book aficionados. This is Dante D bringing you another video. After a little bit of a hiatus, I really apologize that I haven't posted a video in quite a while, but as all of you out there with your school days long behind you probably know, when you don't have summers off, things in the summer tend to get quite busy with work and family reunions and kids and having to spend time outside. It really doesn't leave a lot of time for free time. I know I myself am guilty of that. I haven't really even had a lot of time to read a lot of comic books. But it's mid-August now, and the fall season is upon us, and I'm really looking forward for things to wind down, to get back into comic book reading, and to post a lot more comic book related videos this upcoming fall season. The topic of today's video will be my approach to collecting older comics and comics that are a bit rarer. See, I got a comment from a YouTube user on one of my videos. His name is Comics Unboxed. He suggested that I make a video on how to collect older comics and get them at the best price that you possibly can get them. So Comics Unboxed, if you're watching this, this video is for you. So when it comes to collecting older and rare comics, I follow these 10 rules, which I'm going to share with you now. But before I really get into my 10 rules for collecting older comics, and we really kind of examine them, I just kind of wanted to preamble this. Basically, when it comes to collecting older and rare comics, there really isn't any easy way to do it. When it comes to older and rare comics, you have to really come to terms with the fact that they are going to be expensive. Now, and you are going to have to dish out a little bit of cash to get them. So if you've stumbled upon this video and you think it's going to contain a secret for getting Hulk 181 for $10 or Amazing Fantasy 15 for $100, this really is not what this video is going to talk about. See, first of all, it's not really realistic. I mean, if there is anybody out there that is able to get Amazing Fantasy 15 or Hulk 181 or any other huge book like that for a ridiculously low price like $10 or $100, please let me know, because I'd really like to learn how to do that. The 10 rules for collecting older and rare comics that I'm going to share with you today are just basically guidelines, and I think if you follow these 10 simple rules, you really will be able to get those comics that you really want in your collection at the best price possible. I've been collecting comics now. I know there are probably some veteran comic book collectors out there that are watching this have been collecting for 20, 30 plus years, but I have to say I've been collecting comic books seriously now for the past 6-7 years, and in that period of time I've really learned a lot, and I'm at a point now where I myself follow these rules, and I feel that every bigger book that I get, I am getting at the best price possible, and these are the rules that I follow, really. I'm not just making this up to make a YouTube blog video. That I really do follow these myself as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So my number one rule when it comes to collecting older and rare comic books is, first of all, before you start anything, before you even start looking for comics online or anything, is to be realistic. Let's face it, most of us are never going to own Action Comics #1 or Detective Comics 27. Those books are just way too high priced. I mean, unless you have almost $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars to put towards a comic book, I don't think it's realistic to say that we will own those comics. I mean, hey, maybe one day you'll win the lottery and you might. I know myself, I know that in my head I have it drilled in there that I will never own Action Comics #1 or Detective Comics 27 or even Amazing Fantasy 15 unless I win the lottery. I mean, if I win the lottery, yeah, maybe I will. But I think it's very important to keep a level head and to be realistic. That was rule number one. Rule number two actually really kind of goes hand in hand with rule number one. Rule number two is to know your limits. Before you decide that you want to collect a comic book seriously and you're willing to put a little bit of money towards a comic book collection, you really need to know financially what your limit is. First of all, you have to sit down and see how much of your income you really can put towards starting a rare and older comic book collection. Second, you need to sit down and also realize what your max is. And what I mean by that is, what is the maximum amount of money that you will ever spend on one issue of a comic book? Okay? Like, I know personally, my limit, and it's actually a little higher, I think, in my opinion anyway, I would never spend more than $800 Canadian currency on a comic book. Okay? I have never exceeded that amount of money on a comic book, and I never will, because that's my limit. If you start playing around with your limits, or you really don't know what your limit is, and you start dishing out cash on some higher priced comic, you're really either A, going to get frustrated and might give up because you feel like you can't afford to get any of these older comics, or B, you might get into a lot of debt. So set a limit. Very, very important to set a limit. Whether even $50 is a limit as well. You actually can get a lot of nice books for under $50 or under $100. You don't need to spend huge amounts of money for a nice comic book collection. You really can build up quite a solid collection with your limit being $100, $200, whatever it is. So sit down, set a limit. Rule number 3: know what kind of collector you are. You really need to sit down and take some time to determine what collector you are, what your reason is for wanting these more exclusive books in your collection, and why you want to spend a little bit of extra money to get these books. One of the reasons why I want you to really kind of determine what type of collector you are is because that will kind of decide a lot of other factors, such as the condition of the book that you're looking for. For example, if you're a collector that buys comic books primarily as investments, you're always going to want to get the best condition possible that you can get for these books, because when you're investing, you have the intention to eventually flip those books or to sell them in the future for profit. I'm not that type of collector. I think it's very difficult to do that. I know there are people out there who do that. I personally am not that type of collector. I personally collect what I like, and I collect for cultural significance. I've said that in some of our other videos. I just really like owning a piece of pop cultural history, and I've told many people this time and time again. Every single book that I have in my collection, I have a personal attachment to, and I can't ever see myself selling them. Rule number 4. Now, before I actually give you rule number 4, I just wanted to let you know, if you choose to ignore all the rules on this list, please do not ignore this one, because this one I think is extremely important. And rule number 4 is avoid comic book stores. If you're a comic book shop owner, I apologize in advance, but the truth of the matter is you are never going to get a great deal on a comic book, or a rare comic book, or an older comic book in a comic book store. I've been to many comic book stores, and all the rare comics that are there are always outrageously priced. They're always hyperinflated. More often than not, they're listed for higher than they are in a price guide. And to tell you the truth, the price guide is just what it says it is. It's a guide. It's not law. Okay, so even if you're dealing with a private dealer or someone that's trying to sell their collection off, and they're saying, well, in the guide it says this, you need to let them know, well, it's exactly what it is. It's just a guide. It's not law. Just because the guide says that a particular comic book is worth so much amount of money does not mean that it has to sell for that price. Okay, so try to keep that in mind. And like I said, just avoid comic book stores. I understand why comic book stores will sell these types of books for that amount of money. At the end of the day, they're running a business, and in order to keep their business going, they need to sell these books for high prices. But I avoid comic book stores like the plague when I'm looking for an older or rare comic book. The only reason I'll ever walk into a comic book store is to buy a newer comic that has just been released, or to raid the bargain bins. Some comic book stores have a bargain bin that where comic books are sold for 50 cents, $1, but those bargain bins, you'll never find any rare comics in those bargain bins. You're usually going to find a lot of 90s comics, or some 80s comics that generally people don't want. You'll never find anything exclusive in those bargain bins. So yes, please, when you're looking, if there's one rule you're going to follow this one, because you'll already save a lot of money. Okay, let me give you a little example. I had a friend of mine a while ago who walked into one of our local comic book stores here in the area where I live, and there was an X-Men 94, which is a pretty big book. Okay, the Uncanny X-Men 94. It's the first appearance of the new team in the main series, and I think that the shop owner was selling this book for $600, and I mean, it was mid-grade, maybe. It was like maybe a 4 from what I can remember. And I mean, this book is worth a lot of money, but I don't think it's worth that much. He later was able to get that book in a similar grade, in a similar condition, for I think it was like $250, $300, something like that. So the comic book store is the easy way out. Don't take the easy way out. Do the legwork. Consult other sources. Now you're probably asking, okay, if I have to avoid comic book stores, where am I going to find these rare and older comics? Here are a few good places to try. First is eBay. I have to say, at least 80%, maybe 75 to 80% of the collection that I have here was amassed through eBay. I'm a huge eBayer. I get books on eBay all the time. eBay is actually a great place to get older and rare comics. Now, be careful, because there are really two types of eBay sellers. There are eBay sellers that are trying to make a quick profit and sell these books for a high profit. And then there are also eBay sellers that are trying to get rid of the book. Okay, they're trying to unload it. Either they're moving, or their wife's making them sell it, or they for some reason they can't hold on to this book, but they don't just want to give it away, so they're going to sell it and see if they can get a fair price for it. Okay, though, trust me, deals do exist on eBay, but you have to be careful. Another great place. This is more if you live in a bigger city, but like New York, Chicago, even Detroit. If you live in a bigger city, try secondhand stores, bargain shops, used bookstores. Those types of places there. A lot of times they will sell comic books. Occasionally they'll get some rare ones, but generally it's pretty hit or miss. Flea markets sometime. Actually, I had one of my viewers comment on one of my videos that he found Secret Wars 8, I believe it was, Secret Wars number 8, at his town flea market. And he got it for like, I think $5 or something ridiculous like that. And that book's worth a lot of money. It was in good condition too. So there are deals to be found. I personally love flea markets. I don't have one around me, but I mean, if I did, I definitely would go all the time. Flea markets are usually pretty good places too. And then of course there's always Craigslist, and if you live in Canada, Kijiji. But if you search some ads, comic book collections, a lot of times there are people trying to get rid of their collections. It's kind of along the same lines as eBay, right? But of course you actually have to meet face to face with these people because you want to see these books and everything. A lot of times you have to do cash deals with Craigslist and Kijiji. And of course, if you're going to go that route, please be safe, because you hear a lot of stories about weird things happening with Craigslist and Kijiji. But I think of all those sources that I just listed, probably the best one, obviously, I'm going to say is eBay. It's safe. You're at home. There's buyer protection with eBay. I think eBay probably is the best place. So look on eBay if there's a book that you really, really want. If a lot of times I'll go on eBay and all these books, the books that the book that I want, there are probably 100 listings for it, but the price is too high. Wait a bit, go back to it, keep searching for it until that one deal that you're looking for shows up. And I have to say, probably for most books that I've ever wanted, I've been able to find on eBay and get a good price for them. So eBay's probably the best place to get those older and rare comics. eBay should be paying me for this, I'm telling you. They're not, but they probably should be. Rule number 5. Now, rule number 5 is a rule that applies more to collectors such as myself that are collecting more for cultural significance and for to own a piece of pop cultural history, as I've said in the past. Rule number 5 is don't stress about condition. You always see people stressing about the condition of a book. Let me tell you, I am one of those people that does not care at all about condition. I mean, I shouldn't say at all. I do have some standards, but my standards are pretty low. This is my standard for condition. As long as the book is complete, there are no cutouts or anything like that, and it's still together, and obviously the cover is reasonably appealing, and you can tell that it's the book that it claims to be, then I'm happy. My pet peeve is cutouts. You might not even care about cutouts. You might be like, yeah, I just want that book. I don't care if it has a cutout in it, right? But I care about cutouts. So as long as it's complete, it doesn't have any cutouts, and it's still together, and there aren't any missing pages or anything, I'm sold. That I don't care. I've been able to get a lot of great books for an amazing price by not stressing so much over condition. Let me tell you, if you're one of those people that's looking for a really rare comic that's like 9.0 and higher, be prepared to spend a lot of money. I mean, you can save a lot of money by just really kind of cooling it with the condition. I think books that are middle grade, like you're talking 4, are just as nice for me. Like I said, I just don't stress too much about condition. So if you can get over not wanting mint condition, you will save a lot of money on a book. I can't stress this enough. Not worrying about the condition of a book will get you a bargain. I have a few examples here from my own personal collection to show you where not stressing about condition can get you and what it can get you, okay? So here's the first book, and I think this is the only exception in my collection where I've kind of reduced my standards for condition, and that is with this book here. Sorry about the glare. I don't know if you can see, but this is Amazing Spider-Man, number 50. And for those of you that don't know, this book here is the first appearance of the Kingpin. Oh, there you go. It's a little better. Not as much glare from here. Yeah, so this is the first appearance of the Kingpin. And I know it's a little far away, but can you tell what's wrong with the book? I'm sure you all did. As you can see here, the entire top portion of the cover is missing. I think I showed this book in one of my other videos, but I totally, and I said this before too, I could totally imagine somebody in the 60s or whatever finding this on a coffee table or on the kitchen table and just like ripping this piece to like spit out their gum and cringe. But other than this flaw here, this is a nice book. I mean, if it weren't for that flaw there, this would easily be probably a 5 in my opinion. Without that there, it would definitely be a 5. It's complete. The colors inside are nice, and I'm just really happy to have it. I don't even care about that. I'm just happy to have this book because this book here is super expensive. If you go on eBay right now, I didn't look, but when I've checked in the past, this book has always been super expensive. Let me tell you, I didn't buy this book singly. I got this book in a huge lot. I got really lucky with this lot. A huge lot of older Spider-Man comics from like the 60s. And most of these books were a little mangled, but surprisingly they were all complete. Just the condition was a little beat. This was the only one really that that was ripped. When I figured it out, obviously I didn't spend money on this singly, but like I said, I got in a lot. When I divided the amount of books I got by the price that I spent, it came out that this book was between $15 and $20 what I spent on it, right? So I was like elated at that fact there. So that's this one here. Another one that I have is this is Amazing Spider-Man 121. This is the Death of Gwen Stacy. This is another really big book in the main Spider-Man series. A lot of times it's often considered the end of the Silver Age. I know that's debatable, but a lot of times they consider this the end of the Silver Age. And again, Death of Gwen Stacy. Huge Spider-Man book. Super expensive. I know what, from that distance there, you can't tell what's wrong with it. I'm going to try to bring it in a little closer here so you can see. I don't know if you can... You probably can't tell with the Mylar on it. Oh, maybe you can a little bit. Right here, you can see that it's a little darker there. Darker here compared to light here. Anyway, what's wrong with this book is it's water damaged. This was on somebody's coffee table again, or someone's kitchen table. They're reading it, and they spilled water. It is water. It's not coffee or anything like that, so that's one nice thing about it. But yeah, it was drenched at one point, and someone dried it out. But again, this book is complete. There's nothing missing out of it. Has a really tight binding, and other than the water damage, it is in very good condition, very readable. And I mean, in the Mylar here, from that distance, you can see it's still very appealing. I got this book here in the same lot that I got this book in. These two came together with, I think, about 15 other books. And again, when I divided it by the price I spent on it, it came out that this book was maybe $20. Like I said, you go on eBay right now, this book here is, you probably can't get it for under $300. It's very expensive. So, and I was able to get it for maybe 20, right? So, like I said, condition, if you don't stress about condition, you can get a deal. Here's my last example. And this is one of my more recent pickups. This is Iron Fist #1. There's nothing hugely wrong with this. This is just a very low grade copy. There's a little bit of there's like a little bit of fading, and it's like slightly scraped there, slightly damaged. I mean, from a distance though, it's complete. No cutouts again, tight binding and everything. It's just a lower grade book. This book here, because of the whole Iron Fist, the whole Iron Fist series on Netflix right now, this book is going for quite a higher price. I got this book here for $13 on eBay. Okay. Like I said, don't worry about the condition. Once one of the lower grade copies of the book that you want comes up, swipe it immediately. Like I said, for example, if you want this book right now and you go search on eBay, there might not be a lower grade copy there, and I'm sorry if there isn't, because I bought it. No, I'm kidding. No, but again, when you're searching at that one time, you might not find that lower grade copy for the book. But if you keep searching, eventually, I promise you, eventually, even if it's a year from now, eventually a lower grade copy of the book that you want will be up there, and I'm telling you, it will be for much lower price, and you will be happy to get it at that low price. But again, look at the seller's descriptions. You try to make sure it's at least complete, and there aren't any cutouts or missing pages or anything. But yeah, those are probably the top 3 examples from my own collection where I didn't care about condition, but I ended up getting a really cool book out of the deal. So yeah, don't stress about the condition. Now, of course, if you are one of those people that is collecting for investment purposes, which I personally would not recommend, but I mean, if you are one of those people that is collecting for investment purposes, you are going to want to care about the condition. I can't comment further on that because that's not the type of collector I am, but yeah, if you are wanting to collect for investment purposes, you are going to want to get the best condition possible, because the best condition possible is going to yield the highest price possible. Just good luck trying to find someone who's going to want to spend that much money on a book like that. But yeah. But generally, if anything, in my experience, these lower grade books often sell before the higher grade books because they're cheaper. There are a lot of people out there who just don't care, and they will opt for the lower grade one, right? So yeah. Rule number 6: avoid trendy / buzz comics. And what I mean by that are comics that have a character or a hero or someone that is going to appear in a movie or a TV series or something like that. I don't know if you've noticed, but whenever a character appears in a movie or a TV series or something like that, or it is announced that a particular character will appear in a movie, TV series, so on and so forth, the prices of either their first appearance or something significant that they've done skyrockets quite a bit. And a lot of times they skyrocket, and it's only for a brief period of time. And then after all the buzz and the craze and everything is over, the prices go down. I've actually known quite a few people that have spent the money on a particular book at the time when there was a lot of speculation about it. And after all the speculation was over, if they tried to flip that book, oftentimes they lost quite a bit of money. The one book that I can think of in recent history is the Batman Vengeance of Bane #1, which is the first appearance of Bane. Back when The Dark Knight Rises came up, the prices, or when it was even announced that Bane was going to be the villain, the prices on that book skyrocketed, and people were spending quite a bit of money on that book. But if you go now, it's really kind of leveled off. It's not as expensive as it was at that time. So if you were a person that bought during that time and you're trying to get rid of that book, you essentially lost money. So what I'd recommend you do, if one of the books that you want is a buzz book, or there's a lot of speculation surrounding it, you probably don't want to hear this, but I really would wait until all the speculation and all the buzz is over before you even consider buying that book, because you'll end up saving a lot of money in the long run. The book that I can think of now is not a good time to buy anything with Deadpool. I mean, with the Deadpool movie that came out, was it last year? I think it was last year, 2016. With the Deadpool movie that came out, I mean, Deadpool, the first appearance of Deadpool, New Mutants 98, was always a more expensive book, but when the Deadpool movie came out, I mean, it went even higher. So, and now with Deadpool 2 coming out, the prices are not going to taper off anytime soon. So I really would wait, if that's one of the books that you want, to get that until all the buzz and speculation is over, if it ever is over, because I know Deadpool is an immensely popular character. Now, again, if it so happens that the buzz never ends and the prices stay high for a particular book you want, really kind of evaluate, again, why you want the book and if you plan to keep the book. If you plan to keep the book, if you can save up the money to get it, because you're planning to keep it, you're not ever planning to get rid of it, right? But if you're thinking, I might a few years down the road want to get rid of it, you might want to hold off for a bit, just because you may be disappointed when you go to sell it. Again, you might be able to sell it no problem. Again, I'm not a huge seller of comic books. I'm a collector. I keep them. I don't sell them. So but from what I've heard, it's very difficult to sell them. So really try to avoid those trendy buzz books. Okay, you'll save a lot of money by buying the book when there isn't a lot of speculation around it. Rule number 7. This is another one of my top rules. Buy comics in lots. You probably have heard this word before, a lot. A lot is just a set of comics, okay? Like buying more than one. More than one is a lot, okay? Buy lots. I cannot tell you this is one of my top rules for sure. I always, when I'm looking for a rare comic or an older comic or anything, I always check to see and do my best to see if I can get that comic as part of a lot, because a lot of times you're getting a deal and you're going to get many older, rarer books all together. I cannot tell you how much money you will save by getting a great deal on a lot. Here is probably the best example of how buying a lot got me a rare book for a much better price. So a few years back, I was looking for this book, which is New Mutants 98, which, as most of you probably know, is the first appearance of Deadpool. I mentioned that a little earlier. This is one of those buzz speculation books right now, right? Very, very high-priced book. At the time that I was looking to buy this book, every single eBay listing that I was looking at had this book priced at minimum $350, somewhere up towards up towards $500, $600. It was just ridiculous. I just refused to spend that amount of money on this type of book. Okay, I waited, kept going back, and then after a while, I managed to find this book, and this book is in great condition. This is one of the few times where I have to say that I lucked out with condition. Like this is easily a near mint. I don't know exactly. I'm not a huge grader, but I could tell by the condition here. This is easily a near mint. I managed to find this book here in a lot, and it came with this book here. This is New Mutants 87, which is the first appearance of Cable, which is a book right now that's a high speculation book because I think he's making an appearance in the new Deadpool movie. It came with this book. It's another copy of the first appearance of Cable, but this here, as you can notice, the gold background. This is the second print copy of it. So these two came with New Mutants 97. Okay. But I'm not done. Not done yet. It also came with this book here. This is X Factor number 5, which is the first cameo appearance of Apocalypse, which is a villain in one of the more recent X-Men movies. And finally, it came with this book as well, which is X Factor number 6, which is the first full appearance of Apocalypse, with the now classic cover here. Again, villain in one of the more recent X-Men movies. That totals about 5. Sorry, yeah, that totals 5 books there. When I figured it out on how much I ended up getting this book for, I divided it and everything. It came out to something like $80, as opposed to having to spend. $80 just for the one book. When I divided it, the price that I spent with all the books that I got here, it came out like I spent something like $80 on this book, as opposed to having to spend $350 plus on just this one book. Okay, so I'm telling you, the deals are out there. You just have to wait till they come up. Get the books in lots. Like, there you go. If, for example, if this is one of the books that you wanted, for example, if there's another high-priced book that you want, and it isn't being sold in a lot, or it isn't being sold in a lower condition, don't buy it that day. Keep going back until it comes up, because eventually a deal will come up on eBay. Okay, I'm telling you. So buy in lots. Always buy in lots if you can. Rule number 8, avoid CGC'd comics, okay? What do I mean by CGC? If you're new to collecting, CGC is a company that's based out of Florida that people can mail their books and send their books to this company, and this company will professionally grade these books and encapsulate them in this like plastic along with a certified grade at the top. Okay, of course, all for a fee. But I can tell you, in all the time that I've been collecting, I have never, ever, ever purchased a CGC comic, and I never, ever will purchase a CGC comic. And the reason being is that I find that sellers, a lot of times, when they feel that when they have a comic that's been CGC'd, that gives them freedom to ridiculously inflate the price, because in their minds, oh, it's been CGC'd, it's encapsulated in this nice thing, and it's proof that it's of that grade. I think it's all poppycock. I think the whole idea of CGC is not. I don't care for it. Let's put it that way. I understand its existence. I understand its purpose. And I think probably the reason why I don't value CGC that much is because I myself do not collect comics for investment purposes. If you're an investor, then yeah, you're probably going to want a CGC comic. But like I said, if you're looking to get a comic that's been CGC'd, encapsulated, be prepared to spend quite a bit of cash on it. I actually have here an example of a book that is significantly inflated when it's CGC'd. That is this book here. This is it's appeared in at least 2 or 3 of my videos. Okay, it's X-Men #1 from 1991 by Jim Lee. One of my favorite books. Okay, now this book here, normally these are a dime a dozen. Like I said, the print run on this and the sales on this was estimated to be at about 8 million sales of this. Okay, so this book is everywhere. Every collector, I'm sure, those of you who are watching, I'm sure most of you guys have this book. Okay, but if you don't and you wanted to get this book, you should be able to get this book for like $1, $2. It's not an expensive book. Great book to have in your collection. I love it. Great read, but not an expensive book. Okay, if you go on eBay right now and you type in X-Men #1, 1991, Jim Lee, CGC'd, this book will probably be so much more. You're probably at minimum $30, maybe even $70, depending on the grade, right? Because most of the people that bought this book, when they bought it back in 1991, they kept it in perfect condition, because that was that time of speculation where everyone was buying up comics and they thought, oh, I got to keep this in mint condition because I'm going to cash in on it later and be rich and everything. So most of the books that exist, most of the copies of this book that are in circulation still to this day, or in people's collections, are in great condition because most people kept them in great condition. So what some people started doing now, are even to this day right now, people are sending this book to CGC, and they're getting it graded at like 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, whatever. But most of the books that are in circulation here are of that high grade, right? Because most people tried to keep them in good condition. So they feel that getting this encapsulated or slabbed, which is the colloquial, okay? People feel that getting this slabbed with a 9.0 plus grade gives them freedom to sell this for over $50 or even up to $100, okay? So I think it's ridiculous. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're going to spend money on a CGC comic, you're going to be spending a lot more than if it were not CGC'd, okay? So, and again, some of you might disagree with me, but at the end of the day, try to avoid the CGC comics. Try to avoid buying them because you will save money in the long run. Rule number 9. Realize that tomorrow is another day. If you want that New Mutants 98 or Giant Size X-Men #1 or Hulk 181 or something like that, and you don't find that deal right away when you go to search on eBay or you go to a con or something like that, realize that tomorrow's another day. Don't feel that because that deal that you were looking for wasn't there on that one day that you have to be forced to spend the money that day. Okay, this is very much a game in patience, It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of hard work, and a lot of dedication to build up a really nice comic book collection, okay? So if you can just kind of ground yourself and realize that tomorrow is another day, you will be able to get these higher priced books and other rare comics at a better price, okay? Just be patient. Again, even if it takes you a year to get that one book that you've always wanted, or 2 years, or 3 years, or who knows how long it was, there are still books that I originally, when I first started collecting, said, I want this book. I mean, realistically, that I said, hey, I want this book, and I still don't have it to this day. I'm waiting for the right time to get that book, okay? You have to wait until the die is cast, to use Julius Caesar's famous phrase there. So really be patient with this. This takes a lot of time. Rome was not built in a day. Again, making a lot of Roman references here, sorry. But really, though, Rome was not built in a day. It takes a lot of time to build a collection. Don't feel like you have to rush to build this epic collection all at once. With any other hobby, whether it be playing guitar or taking up an instrument or collecting baseball cards, it takes very, very much time, dedication to get to the point where you want to be with it. So. Yeah, so just be patient. Like I said, and I said this a little bit earlier on in the video here. If that deal doesn't show up that one day, just wait. Come back tomorrow. You never know. That deal will pop up. Keep looking for it, okay? It takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, okay? So realize tomorrow's another day. You'll be saving yourself some cash if you can ground yourself that way. And my last rule, which is rule number 10, enjoy the hunt. Part of the fun of comic book collecting is hunting, is finding that one book that you really, really want. I can tell you, I remember buying probably every single one of the books that I have in my collection. In my collection right now, I have about, I think when I looked at my database, I have about almost 1,800 comics in my collection, okay? I can tell you where I got every single one of them. I can remember when I bought them. I can remember where I was. I can remember what season it was. I remember everything. Part of it is because of that hunt. You remember looking for it. You remember wanting it. You remember revering these types of books. And when you finally get it, it's like it just feels so great. So really enjoy it. Because I mean, if you're not enjoying this, then A, maybe this isn't a hobby for you. Or B, if you're not enjoying it, it's going to become very frustrating, and you might give up. And you really don't want to give up. And of course, enjoy reading the comics. I mean, comic book collecting is very much a reading hobby as well. I've known people in the past that have collected the comic books to just have the comic books, and they wouldn't even read them. I mean, what's the point in that, right? I mean, I think I get the point. What the point is, I mean, they're probably investors, but I mean, for me, I can't really understand that, because I actually like to read comic books. So enjoy it. Enjoy the hobby. Enjoy reading the comics that you get, and just enjoy every second of it, because it really is a lot of fun. I really hope that you've all found this video helpful, and I really hope that you all incorporate some of my collecting methodology into your own collecting methodology to help you get the best price possible on some of the rare and older comics that you've always been looking for. I'd really love to hear from all of you. Please comment below and let me know how you collect comic books. If there are any tips and tricks that you have for me. I mean, one thing that I'm always saying is that I think the comic book community is a really, really great, friendly community for the most part. And I really like hearing feedback and hearing other people's opinions, because a lot of times I take your opinions and I try to incorporate them into the way I collect comic books, and it's just wonderful to hear from everyone. So keep those comments coming, and I really appreciate everybody's continued support, and I appreciate you hanging out with me here today and talking about comic book collecting. So until next time, this is Dante D signing off. Ciao.